Hi, I'm Jason, and I'm a gamer. And I don't like that. Who wrote the script? Greg? Greg, you're fired! Let's try that again. Hi, I'm Jason, and I'm a guy who likes games sometimes. Let's talk about the news. No, I'm not going to talk about this story. I don't want to talk about it. You don't need another white dude's opinion on it. Let's just move on. Most people in the online gaming space have at least heard the name Shroud, whether it's from his professional career as a CSGO esports player, or as his current professional career as a legendary streamer. He's in gaming news yet again this week as he's caught a month-long ban from PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds for playing with a hacker. It's not like he was trying to be coy about it either, because he was doing so live from his Twitch stream. You can see the full video in the description, but to keep it short...
I mean, I have no clip enabled, so I can just go through houses and stuff, but I haven't said so that way people... Yeah, see, he just died. Yeah. I actually sell these cheats for everything.
Wait, don't say a word.
No, he isn't trying to appeal the ban, nor does he even seem upset about it, as he admits he's the one who made the mistake in this clip.
I was trying to have a good time. Obviously, I knew what the fuck I was doing. Which wasn't a great idea. It seemed like a great idea. But it wasn't a great idea. I got banned for a month. So I'm sorry for those of you guys that were really upset. Okay? I was just trying to have some fun. And I knew exactly what I was doing, making a mistake.
Oh, but don't worry guys, the PUBG devs say that they are on top of the issue and are working on it in a statement from the patch notes to 17.1 for PUBG. It reads as follows. Our goal is to always work to give you a better Battle Royale experience. To do that, we know we have to ship more performance improvements and additional bug fixes. We agree with the criticisms of the game that many of you have made recently, including comments that our efforts need to be more effective and the game still needs more improvement. We greatly appreciate this feedback, and we know that all of it comes from a place of support and love for PUBG. Right now, we're developing new plans to resolve various problems facing PUBG, prioritizing server performance, client-side performance, anti-cheat, and bugs. While we'll continue shipping new content and preparing for PGI over the next few weeks, we intend to have more concrete info to share about these plans shortly after PGI is over. Our dev team is doing their best to make sure that our plans are well laid out so we can continue meaningful and detailed changes. We love PUBG as much as you do, and will continue doing everything possible to improve the game. I'll just nod my head and pretend I believe him, like the last 37 times they've said something along the same lines and decided to add yet another revenue stream instead. But in China, the story is a little bit different, as Tencent, who publishes the game in China, has been cooperating with local police, and those cooperations have led to more than 141 arrests of people who are developing and selling cheats. If you can't beat them, cuff them, I guess. But hey, if you're getting frustrated with having your chicken dinner taken away from you by a game-breaking bug or a cheater, well, why don't you hop on over to the Culling 2? Yeah, that's out now. It's on PS4, Xbox One, and PC, and it has a bit of a player count problem. That problem being no player count. With a total peak of 13 players on Steam, you're sure to find a lobby that you can win. However, on the positive side of the Battle Royale, on the positive side of things, Epic, who is just making an obscene amount of money with Fortnite, has decided to pay it forward to its creators in the Unreal Asset Engine store. In a frankly surprising good guy move, Epic has decided to shift their creator and Epic revenue from 70-30, the 70% going to the creators. They have changed that percentage and raised it up to 88%. And not only are they raising that creator proportion to 88%, they're also giving the past 4 years of backpay for creators that have received money for their creations. I gotta be honest, I can't snark about that. Way to go, Epic. I can't help but respect what you're doing here. Now, what I can't respect anymore is the ESA, and especially its director, Michael Gallagher. The ESA, which stands for the Entertainment Software Association, bills itself as the voice of the game industry. I'm sorry, but if they want to do that, they'll have to have another voice outside of Gallagher, who, when recently asked about Game Workers Unite, as well as unionization and labor organization practices, they had this to say. So this is fortunately an issue we haven't had to deal with much in my time as leader of the ESA, and I think there's reason for that. The wages in the video game industry are very high. The wages in the video game industry are very high, the barriers to exit for employees are very low, and the opportunities to create within the industry are abundant. There are multiple platforms, multiple publishers, multiple companies spread out all around the country. The market is global, so that provides a lot of opportunities for individuals to be fully empowered. And you see those choices being made every day. We have a map called Are We in Your State? And it's a map of what we count as all of the video game companies, as well as locations. The number of locations is something around 3,000 around the country, so the industry has been democratized. The tools to make games have been democratized. The returns and revenues have never been higher. When you put all of those elements together, it created a great opportunity for individual laborers or the game makers at whatever level to make choices that empower themselves. So I think that's why we've had less... It hasn't been a significant issue in the game industry for the last 10 years. So that's a statement. The statement almost as ludicrous as what EA has to say about Star Wars fans and just why they play Star Wars games. Trivia time. Star Wars fans play Star Wars games for the purpose of A. Getting a good story out of the world they love. B. Just having a fun game. C. Being better at trivia than non-gaming fans. D. Wanting to relive epic moments from the series. Cast your votes on your devices now. Copyright strike. If you said C, you and EA agree. And also, what? This is so utterly stupid that I can't think of a joke to fit in here because EA is the joke here. Oh, surely Jason is just reading too much into random cherry-picked comments. I wish so, dear imaginary viewer. I really wish so. EA Motive's Jade Raymond stated, the number one motivator for either fans of playing Star Wars games or looking to participate in the Star Wars universe in any way is to become the number one fan, and went on to say that usually boils down to being able to beat their friends at Star Wars trivia. Okay, here's a fun piece of trivia. They managed to make Emperor Palpatine so obscenely powerful that they've been unable to nerf him and have to just straight up ghost him from the game about a week ago. When he will return? None of us know. Alright, now to get into the main story of the week. I said I wasn't doing this shit, Greg! Right, I fired Greg. Fuck. Alright, I guess this is what we're doing. Thanks for nothing, Greg! ArenaNet. Before this week, I couldn't have told you who ArenaNet was, even though it's been explained to me multiple times that they're the developers of Guild Wars 2. And I probably would forget were the name not so obtrusively thrown into my face this past week over the story we're going to talk about. I couldn't forget the name if I wanted to at this point. Now, what happened at ArenaNet to create such a flurry of online discourse and discussion? Well, we have to start at the very beginning here, and bear with me because this is honestly a long and exhausting story, and I want to be very direct about the quotes I pull because there's been a lot of hearsay and juxtaposition going on. Spoiler alert, this was handled poorly on every single side. Jessica Price, a former narrative designer on Guild Wars 2, started a Twitter thread on her personal Twitter acknowledging that while she has often been on Reddit for Q&As, she hasn't spoken on her Twitter very much recently about being in game dev. Now, sidebar, if you work in games, you're a game dev. You don't have to be a coder to be a game developer. Those in music, audio, voiceover, narrative design, all of those are game developers. Sidebar over. Jessica Price's Twitter thread was about designing the narrative of the player character when it comes to an MMO. It's a very long thread, and a link to the full thread of the 29 tweets can be found in the description, which I highly recommend you check out. Even completely separate from the story, it's a fascinating read and gives you a lot of insight into how writing for an MMO works. Then came the controversy, the inciting incident, if you will. It started with one tweet, well, 4 tweets in a thread, as a response to the second tweet in a 29 tweet long post. Derriere, fuck it, D, being a community creator, partnered with Guild Wars 2, responded to the tweets saying, really interesting thread to read. However, allow me to disagree slightly. I don't believe the issue lies in the MMORPG genre itself, as your wording seemingly suggests. I believe the issue lies in the constraints of the living story's narrative design. When you want the outcome to be the same across the board for all players' experiences, then yes, by design you're extremely limited in how you can construct the personality of the player character. But instead, if players are given the option to meaningfully express their character through branching dialogue options, which also aren't just on the checklist for an achievement that forces you through all dialogue options, then perhaps players would be more invested in the role-playing aspect of that particular MMORPG. To which she quote tweeted D and responded, today in being a female game dev, allow me, a person who does not work with you, to explain to you how to do your job. Now, let's just take a second to unpack this, because the story takes a giant nosedive from this point onward. A game developer took to her personal Twitter to extrapolate some thoughts that she's had over 10 plus years of designing narrative in games. So far, so good. A community partner attempts to open a dialogue about it, though not with the best of wording, so it comes off as more rude than intended. Said developer views this as an attack, as often comes her way, and gets upset by it.
Yikes, this is going south!
A misunderstanding. That's what this whole story was born out of. A misunderstanding. From a community member, misunderstanding that hate and vitriol is constantly thrown at female game devs for being female. To a developer misunderstanding the intentions of an interjection. Personally, and separate from the reporting of the story, I don't know why D had to interject, as though someone who's worked on an MMORPG environment for over 10 years hasn't thought about the possibility of branching narrative. But that's a larger problem outside of this story and not unique to it, and something we may touch on later. And from here, ArenaNet just couldn't let things lie. No, not when the gamers are buzzing like an angry hive of wasps and out for blood. Price is then called into a meeting with a manager in her department, not her manager, as her manager was on vacation at the time, an HR representative, and the president of ArenaNet, Mike O'Brien. She left that meeting no longer an employee of ArenaNet. There's honestly only one person here who is 100% correct, and that is Peter Freeze, who was also fired just for defending her on Twitter on his personal account. Mike O'Brien then releases a statement on their forums saying the following. Recently, 2 of our employees failed to uphold our standards of communicating with players. Their attacks on the community were unacceptable. As a result, they're no longer with the company. I want to be clear that the statements they made do not reflect the views of ArenaNet at all. As a company, we always strive to have a collaborative relationship with the Guild Wars community. We value your input. We make this game for you. Mo. Now, this wasn't Jessica speaking on behalf of ArenaNet or the Guild Wars 2 team. This was her on her personal Twitter, refuting what she saw to be as sexism. Whether it was or wasn't doesn't matter in this situation, because personal Twitter accounts are not public relations accounts. This wasn't an endorsement of sexism, racism, or any other vile thing that would be a reputable reason to take note of a personal account. This was a misunderstanding between a person who makes content and a person who makes games. Full stop. What used to be a supportive environment that encouraged personal morals and stances to be public has since done a 180 and kicked 2 of its developers to the curb the second it became too much of a hassle to deal with the river of toxic garbage gaming communities can be at times. And with Mike equating these responses on her personal Twitter with attacks on the community, this sets a horrible precedent that I truly hope no other company ever follows. ArenaNet gave in, empowering absolute pieces of shit like this guy who said, "Even better, we can probably fire anyone on the Guild Wars 2 dev team as long as we make a big enough stink. Nobody at ArenaNet is safe from the hand of Reddit. We're literally running the company now. They're in fear of the very users they seek to consort with. And if the devs stop communicating, we'll just go at their PR person and cut them down. We actually play the game more than they'll ever be able to. The moment a dev steps out of line or tries to talk back to a player, guess what? They'll know we got our hands on their throat and we can squeeze anytime we like." Just keep in mind what kind of people you're aligning yourselves with, ArenaNet, and tread carefully. There's a chance you could be the iceberg that sinks the Titanic that is developer and community relations. If you want lessons on how to properly communicate with your community and treat your developers, look at Warframe, because you are setting a terrible precedent and a very bad example. At the tail end of this, let me remind you that everyone here made the wrong move except for Peter Freeze, who jumped to the aid of a coworker. This stemmed from a misunderstanding and just turned into a river of bullshit. I don't blame D for all this fallout, and I can't imagine he's happy about 2 devs no longer having jobs at a company that makes a game he loves. But we can use D's mistakes here as a lesson. When opening a dialogue with someone, especially when they have more experience than you, make sure they know you're coming from a place of curiosity and wanting to learn, and not a place of malice. Communication goes both ways, and both sides fucked it up from the get-go. Thank you for tuning in, and an extra thank you if you actually stayed this long to see my thank you. And I feel obligated to remind you that any opinion on this news show is that of my own and doesn't reflect the opinion that Angry Joe or the rest of the AJSA may have. So if you want to direct hate my way, you can find me on Twitter at Jason's Rage. And until next time, you all stay sexy out there. Hi, I'm Jason, and I'm a gay who... I'm a gay. Also true. Playing PUBG devs say that... Pat note... to war... Words are hard.